Want to see if I could do this quick little shout of each album. So this is my top 100 album lists. Number 100 is Louis 14, Best Little Secrets, which is about sex. 34 is Deadmouse, for lack of a better name, which is about mice. Reaction Bronson's Well Done, Weed. Thrill Kills, Everything That Is You. Guitar, Mute Math, Reset. Mid-2000s alternative rock. Flying Lotus Reset EP. I thought it would be funny just to have two albums called Reset back to back. Death Grips Ex-Military, Death. 28 Relationship of Command, Grips. Tool Enema or Enema. Yeah, it's about right. Death Cab Transatlanticism, Sadness. Now Threads, Sadness. Mac DeMarco 2, Sadness. Bad Not Good 2, Jazz. OMNOM self-titled. Please put this shit up on Spotify, alright? Like, what the fuck? Madvillainy, rest in peace. Fugees The Score, Lauryn Hill. Reflections Exist, Sadness but more angry. Toe for Long Tomorrow, Sadness but in Japanese. Vallis Alps self-titled. Not to be a hipster or anything, but I knew about these guys before they were 10,000 subs. I'm not going to be able to pronounce this band name or this album name, but it's Russian. Tesseract 1, Sadness But With Math. Mr. Fijiwiji's Living, Laughing, and Dying. This kid was 16. That's crazy. Atmospheres, When Life Gives You Lemons, Paint That Shit Gold. Sadness But With a Hip-Hop Beat. Christworks Messiah Complex. This shit goes hard. This shit really goes hard. Wild Ones Mirror Touch. Portland. Uneven Structures Februous. Damn. Y'all got ambient metal? Russian Circles Enter. Damn. Y'all got repeating instrumental metal? Daft Punk's Homework. Damn. Y'all got house music? Molshat Doma's Atazi, which I'm definitely mispronouncing. 808s. Massive Attack's Mezzanine. It's like a floor between a floor. So like floor 1.5. Incubus's A Crow Left of the Murder. What can I say? I'm a teenage girl in the early 2000s. Ginzu's Blow. What can I say? I'm a mid-20-year-old girl in the early 2000s. Daughter Not to Disappear. Please let Tennyson post the non-instrumental track for Smother on Spotify. Mastodon's Blood Mountain. Yikes. Alt J's Awesome Wave. I think it's actually The Awesome Wave. I should go back and fix that. XXYYXX self-titled. Damn, this kid was 16 when he made this. Death, Sound of Perseverance. Rest in peace. Rest in fucking peace, you legend. 100 Gex, 1000 Gex. Harrison, Colors EP. This shit's pretty cool. I think there's a Zelda sample in there somewhere. Lorraine James, For You and I. This shit's pretty cool. I think there's a Zelda sample in there somewhere. DJ Jennifer's Jag Tracks. Even Gold Panda's like B-sides shit sounds good. Come on. OPN's Replica. I mean, if you haven't seen Uncut Gems, like, have you seen Uncut Gems? How to Destroy Angels self-titled. Even Trent Reznor's B-sides sound good. Lil Ugly Mane's Oblivion Access. Slugs Are Just Snails Without Shells. Gojira's From Mars to Sirius. I don't know shit. Frums Vignette. Can we get the rest of the Frums stuff on Spotify? Zeromancer Eurotrash. Can we get the rest of the Zeromancer stuff on Spotify? Young Lean's Unknown Death 2002. Arizona Green Tea. Show Me the Body's Body War. Yeah. Kill Cops, man. That's pretty fucking tight. Prolaps Pure Mud Volume 7. Even Machine Girl's B-side shit sounds good. Harry's Unemployment Tape. I think it's actually Hari. But on Twitter this morning they announced it's Hair. So, Hair Unemployment Tape. Dude, please quit whining about having worked with General Sam. Like, just fucking cut it out. Periphery's Periphery 2. I think there's a Skyrim reference in there somewhere. Phantogram's Eyelid Movies. Did you know that When I'm Small was used in a Gillette commercial? I mean, like, there's a joke somewhere in there, right? Hiatus Coyotes, Choose Your Weapon. Napalm is Queen. Mars Volta, Amputexture. Damn. Y'all got saxophone in your metal? Pinback's self-titled. I like the YouTuber Charborg. Chloe, Well Worn. So, actually, these guys slap. Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly. Bro, how are you about to call out Drake for some shit, and then the very next fucking release you put out is just a Drake album? Like, how are you gonna do that? What the fuck, man? You put off like 3 masterpieces in a row. You were just pumping out masterpiece work, and then you just put a fucking Drake album out. Did you not listen to your fucking call out song that you put out like the summer before Damn came out? Did you not listen to your own song at all? Whatever, man. Gorillaz, Demon Days. This is a disappointment too, because like, this is quintessential Gorillaz, but also quit making music. It's never just change your name. Damon Albarn, just change the name of the band. Quit releasing stuff under Gorillaz. Like, they're dead. All right, they died when you put out The Fall back in 2011 or some shit. That was it. All right, stop releasing underneath their name. Quit trying to make money off of that. If you can make good music under a new name. Go Dark's Bitch Sword. Holy shit. The guy that fucking co-founded Anticon has a band that only has like 3,000 followers. Okay. Glass Animals, How to Be a Human Being. Yeah, it's alternative rock. It's pretty good, actually. I mean, this album is solid, but I think that Glass Animals is probably falling off a little bit. I mean, their newer stuff isn't as good. But that's my opinion. It's probably the wrong one too. I don't give a shit. Iglooghost Neo Wax Bloom. Alright, dude, like, I don't know how Samus manages to put out so much, like, new and original sound, like, every fucking year, but, like, dude, just keep doing what you're doing, because you're killing it, like, honestly. And I know that you're doing everything, like, independent run, too, so, like, keep it up, man. You're killing it. Forest Swords Compassion. This album is more of, like, a personal, emotional thing for me, so, like, I can get why it wouldn't be high up on everyone's list, or even on everyone's list. But to me, this album means something more than just the music. It is, like, there's something deeper. So you'll have to forgive me for having an album I like on a list of albums I like. Fire-Toolz Skinless X1. Angel Marcloud could just put out, like, the sound of a train going over train tracks and then, like, lace in an electrical field, and fucking everyone would lose their shit for the right reason. This album's fucking perfect. Screamography is amazing. Just keep doing your thing, because you're killing it, Angel. I mean, goddamn. You have, like, 4 bands that you, like, actively make music for. Fucking crazy. Balamacabre Seabirds. If I see one more tweet from Alec complaining about, like, how much he doesn't like electronic music while he's still putting out electronic music, I'm just gonna fucking, like, give up. Like, dude, no one's making you put this shit out. I know you think that you, like, owe us music because you put out Seabirds and Wander Wonder, but, like, you don't. So either quit making electronic music 'cause it's making you miserable, or quit fucking bitching about it. Bath's Obsidian. I mean, Lil Weisenfield could probably fart on a track at this point, and the whole gay community would like love it, and even myself as a non-member of the gay community, just an ally, like I would still love it. At this point, you could put out like a track that's just an instrumental made up of you farting and burping, and then like it's just you singing about nipple piercings, and I would still probably buy it on vinyl. Boards of Canada, Gio Gotti. These guys are a staple in the underground electronic community. Like, I've nothing I can say has not already been said better by other people. Saturation Trilogy, and I'm putting all 3 albums here because they kind of were like a box set. I mean, I'm looking at my box set for Saturation. It's rough what happened with Amir, but it's cool that you guys are still able to make amazing music even as still Brockhampton. Like, you didn't change who all of you were despite everything shitty that came out about a past member. You just kept doing your shit. So like Saturation was an amazing thing to live through, and you guys should be proud, sincerely. Starslinger v Teams. I think it's actually Teams v Starslinger. And also not too long ago, like literally earlier this week, I learned that Yves Tumor and Teams are the same person. It's Sean Bowie. Fun fact. But Punch Drunk Love on the Teams v Starslinger thing is fucking amazing. It's a great song. It's a great EP. Both of you have your own original sound, both Starslinger and Teams. So coming together and making a cohesive album together that sounds like both of you, but also neither of you at the same time, is impressive. You guys are killing it. And then on that note, Teams, One World. This album is sweet. Plain and simple. Fucking amazing album. I think Alchemy might be one of my favorite tracks of all time. Sewer Sluts, Drowning Love Story. I think it might actually be Draining Love Story. I don't care. You need to quit being, like, so fucking bitchy. Like, I went to follow your fucking Patreon and support you financially, and, like, just you as a person. Like, I know that the world's put you down because they found out that you said the N-word, but, like, you need to grow up and move past that. Like, I think that your problem right now is that you believe the entire world will never forget that you said that shit. But as long as you keep acting the way you're acting, the world will never forget that shit. And eventually, they'll just forget who you are, and that's it. So, like, if you want to make a better image of yourself, you need to quit being such a pessimistic asshole. Sorry. Your music's great, though. For whatever that's worth. Slice the Cakes, Man with No Face. Holy shit. I think this might have been the first, like, metal album, like, non-Slipknot metal album that I'd listened to as a kid and was fucking blown away. And The Chasm is probably one of the few songs that I can, like, not listen to only once. Fucking amazing shit. And from a Christian metal band, too. I mean, like, I'm not... I don't fucking know. Danger Doom. Yeah, it's a banger. Like, every album album Doom put out is great, but, like, this album especially. Small Black's New Chain. I'm just hoping they don't sue me for sampling, and not even sampling, just, like, remixing Photojournalist. Like, I'm not making any money off of it, so if you want to sue me, like, go for it. I don't have any money to give you. I'll probably have to file for bankruptcy at the young age of 25, but, like, I'll still love your music. Caribou Swim. Dude, this album's great. I don't have anything I can say about it because it's just fucking great. Corelia's Nostalgia. You guys fucked up. Starslingers Volume 2. This is actually meant to be, like, just a placeholder for everything Starslinger, because he is fucking amazing. But, like, just with this album alone, it's kind of just a great, like, club house electronic album. Like, just everything about it's great. And you can hear him starting to experiment with like new styles that he's working with, and even like doing more singing on his tracks. And I mean, like, his album Home Is, I think it's Home Is the Place Where You Come From. Pardon me for not knowing this off the top of my head. I might have to look it up real quick. The album Home Is Where We Start From. That's like a masterclass on what 10,000 hours of work looks like. Like, it's just fucking, he's phenomenal. He's great. I hope he gets to like get more recognition soon. My Morning Jackets, Z. Yeah, I found these guys through American Dad. And like the exact same thing that happened to Stan in that episode happened to me, where I just like, I fell in love with the voice and I had to follow it. And yep. Morphine's Good. I actually heard about this band from a friend back in like 6th grade when I had moved to another town. His mom told me about it. And yeah, it's fucking, this band's great. Rest in peace. I never knew that 3 guys just fucking around with a bass, a baritone sax, and a drum set can make so much noise. But yeah, it's impactful. You guys are missing out if you never listen to Morphine. Kids these days, Traphouse Rock. I mean, fucking, if ever there were a chance that we could just get this album like re-uploaded in its entirety for the fans, that'd be great. You guys broke up back in 2013, and I don't think any of us ever got over it. I know Vince started some shit, or not Vince. Vic started some shit with Chance, and I don't know if Save Money's even a thing anymore. And then I know Vic did some music with Kanye. I think even Skrillex. I don't fucking remember. But like, come on, guys. Just like, your fans deserve you. I don't even think you were selling this album. I think it was free when it was originally uploaded. Just, their fans deserve it. Alright? Quit being so fucking snobbish. Blank Mass's World Eater. This shit is gross. Like, this album is fucking nasty, and I love it. I actually hated it when I first heard it, and then I grew into it, and then it grew on me, and much like any good STD, I'm just fucking throwing this shit away to anyone that fucking asks for it. So yeah, fucking give World Eater a listen. You've probably got a good chance of falling in love with it if you start with Please, but you should probably just start with John Doe. I think that's the name of the song, at least. I feel like a dummy. I'm not gonna look it up. I'm just gonna be wrong. I don't care. Ryan Hemsworth's Guilt Trips. This is just a great electronic album. Like, I found it because I was listening to Starslinger, and they put out a song where they remixed a Harrison song, who I mentioned earlier in this list, with their Colors EP. And it was actually one of the songs off of the Colors EP called Your Light, featuring Maddie. And I looked up Harrison out of curiosity because of that remix, and I found the Last Gang Records website. And then naturally I was clicking around to other artists, and I saw Ryan Hemsworth had a song with Kitty Pryde, who I was a huge fan of back in high school because of liking Riff Raff and shit like that. And one thing led to another, and holy shit, this album's great. Like, every single time I listen to it, it's like listening to it for the first time. It's just a really, really good electronic album. Nearly Oratorio Showers. So Nearly Oratorio is Simon Lamb from the duo Chloe, who I mentioned earlier with their album Well Worn. Simon Lamb and Chloe Call, I believe her last name is, are cousins from Australia. They make music together, but Simon Lamb actually started Nearly Oratorio, I think, back in 2011 with this album Showers, and it's great. It's just like kind of like minimal ambient EDM kind of stuff. Like, it has pockets of space within the songs that kind of make you want to be left alone, like, while listening to it. Like, they just emit this energy that you might emotionally correspond with to just want to be left alone. Like, I don't know, it's such a weird album, but like I love it so much. Like it's number 18 on my list, so I must like it. Modest Mouse's Lonesome Crowded West. So the first 2 CDs that I ever had were burnt copies of Demon Days by Gorillaz, which I mentioned earlier, and Good News for People Who Love Bad News by Modest Mouse. And they were given to me by my sister, Amy, who was really the first person to show me music. Aside from her, the only music I had ever had experience with was whatever classic rock song was playing on the radio. So I had no idea that like other music existed, and at least had no idea how to obtain any of it. Like I just was fucking absent to the idea of what music was. And if it wasn't for her sharing music with me, I likely never would have delved as deep into music as I have. So for what it's worth, Amy, I'm eternally grateful for you showing me all this music. And I remember as a kid and even a teen, whenever I found new music, you were the first person I wanted to share it with. So I love you, and I appreciate you for doing that for me. I don't know if you realized it when you're showing me fucking Limp Bizkit's cover of Blue Eyes, that was the thing you were doing, but either way, thank you. Milo, Who Told You to Think? This album is pretentious, it's snobbery, it's just like, it's Milo. Like, he's just kind of a pretentious douchebag, and he mirrors that image in all of his music, but the hooks are all infectious, and the only flaw to this album really is that it doesn't end on Embroidery Machine. I don't normally like to agree with the melon, but ending your album on fucking Rapper with Bus Driver was a fucking mistake. And also, fuck Bus Driver. Like, fuck all of you guys, honestly, for the shit that you did to your fans, but you should have ended it on Embroidery Machine with the record scratch. That would have been so perfect. But, you know, it's your fucking album. White Pony by Deftones. This is a great metal album. And it's actually new metal, as a lot of fans are going to get upset if you call it metal, but you can always tell how new a fan is to Deftones based on what their favorite track off White Pony is. If it's Changing the House of the Flies, it's like, oh, you just heard this on the radio, that's nice. Or if it's Passenger, it's like, oh, you like Tool, and everyone fucking knows it. If it's like Digital Bath, you're like, damn, you've been listening to this album for a while, is everything okay? Or if it's Elite, it's like, damn, you like to fucking party. So yeah, this album's great. And when the 20-year anniversary came out for it, my girlfriend and I quickly jumped to figure out our finances to afford the pre-order, because when we found out that Blank Mass was doing a cover of Elite, I personally fucking shit my pants. But also Clams Casino is on this shit. Like, it's just fucking, yeah, man. Kind of wish Deftones would have stopped putting out music, though. Like, none of their new stuff since, like, Gore really hits the spot. But this album's still pretty fucking tight. Machine Girl's Ugly Art. Yeah. So Spotify believes that this is my favorite album of all time, because I must have listened to it so many times that I have effectively skewed the numbers of like my total listens of all albums and shit. But it's for a good reason. This album's fucking intense. Like, between having live drums on the album, I think for the first album ever with Machine Girl, and like just the production on it, and just the amount of noise and energy that he is able to make with his music is insane. And like, the best part about this album, The Ugly Art, as well as the Prolaps album Pure Mud Volume 7 that I mentioned earlier, is that they are studio albums that sound like live sets. Like, they sound like you were standing in some fucking stinky, sweaty, like, office studio, and there's 40-50 people around you who are all moshing and sweaty and probably on some fucking club drug, and they're just fucking up there on stage. I say stage as if it's not just another set of the exact same level of ground 5 feet away from you, just playing the loudest fucking noise they can possibly make. And it's great. Like, this album's great. Clams Casino instrumentals. So this is the first instrumental album, but I consider all the instrumentals to be just as good. This is actually one of 3 albums that was shown to me by my brother back in my freshman year of high school, and I think it like effectively I think it changed how I looked at music entirely. I don't know what else to say about it, really. This album is great. Edzu, thank you so much for showing me all this new shit. You're the best older brother I've ever had, and you're the only older brother I've ever had, so I appreciate you, sir, and I owe you a beer. Gold Panda's Lucky Shiner. Now, this is the other album that he showed me back in high school, my brother. And by the way, this is 3 of 3, instrumentals is 2 of 3, and Teams v Star Slinger is actually 1 of 3. So those are the 3 albums that he showed me, and they effectively changed my taste in music entirely. But Lucky Shiner, I don't know how Gold Panda does it, man. I remember watching an interview with Gold Panda where they're asking about his like technique, and he just said essentially like, I don't have any like formal music theory schooling. Like, I like listening to music, and then I'll take music that I like and I'll mess around with it, or mess around with my own stuff to get a sound that I like until I've made music I like. And I just think that's admirable. Like, the fact that he's able to do that but then put out consistently impressive musical albums is just fucking awesome. I don't get it. I don't get how he does it, but I look up to him for that, because more people need to have that mentality when it comes to music, where it's just free form. You're just doing your thing. Maps and Atlases, Tree Swallow Houses. Now, this is a math rock album, but it does feel like free form music as well. And I was shown this album back when I was in like middle school. I think I was in like 6th or 7th grade, and I just started doing drum lessons up at the local music store. And the worker and the drum section of the store, I think he might have actually been like working between the guitar and drum section, but at the time he was working in drums. He was playing this album over the speakers in that section, and I was fucking blown away. I'd never heard music like this. I remember asking him too. I was like, who is this? Because like I'd never heard like, tap guitar like this. The only tapping guitar I'd probably heard at that time was like fucking that stupid Van Halen song that everyone plays in guitar centers and shit. But he told me about the band, and I went home and immediately forgot who they were. So I'd spent that whole week anxiously looking for what I could remember about the name, which was fucking nothing, and I found nothing. And I came back a week later, and fortunately the guy was still there, and he knew what I was talking about. When I asked him, I was like, what was the name of that band you showed me last week? As if he hasn't had a whole week of time in between with different customer interactions. But fortunately, he knew who the fuck I was talking about, and he also had the foresight to write it down for me this time. Or that time. So this fucking album is like, it's insane. I remember like they were the staple for when I was practicing drums. Like, they were the first band to really get me into listening to the song and getting me to learn by listening, as opposed to learning from like drum tabs, which is bullshit, and also like sheet music. But then also I set a standard for myself of like, if I can drum any of these songs, then like I'm fucking fine. Like, so I can't remember if it was Artichokes or Every Place Is a House, but it was one of those 2 songs that I'd set myself out to like learn how to drum it. And when I finally like figured it out, oh man, like what a great feeling. Shigeto A New Monday. Man, okay, so Zachary Saginaw is a Michigan native. He's born in Ann Arbor, and he went through Vincent York's jazz, I forgot what they call it. Anyways, he went through Vincent York's jazz school, and he got formal training in jazz through that. But then he also was raised around the Detroit house music scene. And so he combines his, like, jazz knowledge with his Detroit house background, and he makes this, like, interesting, like, transitionary music out of it. Like, it has, you know, hints of tribal to it. It has house, has contemporary jazz elements. But all of his albums are a sign of growth. Like, each album he puts out, you can see that he is working on developing his own sound. And A New Monday is no exception to that. A New Monday is, like, the most recent quintessential Shigeto release. And, like, everything about it is perfect. Between the work of, I think it's Marcus Elliott. Yeah, the work of Marcus Elliott on tenor saxophone throughout this album, or working with Z Looper Z or Silas Green, who are both Detroit rappers, or even Ian Fink working on the Juno for this album. Everything about it is just perfect, and it's got like a little bit of something for everyone, so it's just a great album. But the better part about it is that Shigeto himself is just a chill fucking dude. Like, I remember back in 2019, I think it was, there was a release party for a Matthew Deere album that had just come out, and he's playing at Deluxe Flux, which is like an underground, like neon painted fucking club in Detroit. And he was just doing a DJ set, so he wasn't playing like any of his original stuff really. He might have looped in a couple during the B2B, but he was just doing a DJ set. And I remember afterwards, I'd offered him a cigarette, and so him and I went up top and we were talking, and I was just like, I was probably 6 or 7 drinks deep, but I was talking to him about it, and I was making jokes like, oh, you didn't play Witness by Roots Manuva, like you'd said on your Twitter you're gonna do that, and just joking with it. And at any point in time he could have just told me to fuck off, but he was chill and he was polite and he was respectful, and like, I think that speaks miles and miles for a person's character, is that even the shittiest of fans, I mean, granted, I wasn't swearing and yelling at him, but even the shittiest of drunk fans, he treated them with respect. And that's, you know, it's admirable. So, Shigeto just, I think he was talking about quitting music back in early 2020 with how everything was going and how poorly things are being handled here in America. I don't think he'll ever stop playing music, but I hope he doesn't give up. At least not on a city. Like, just keep doing what you have to do so that you can make Detroit proud. And I love you, man. 9 Inch Nails Downward Spiral. Fuck. Okay, so this is like one of the best-selling, I think it's actually the best-selling 9 Inch Nails album of all time. So nothing I can say hasn't already been said better. But I want to take a minute and appreciate Trent for who he is. I mean, he went from back in '86 playing in a band called the Exotic Birds to now putting out an award-winning soundtrack for a Disney movie. Like, that's impressive. That's fucking impressive shit. I looked up to Trent most of my teen years as a kid playing music, because he was just like, you know, he'd been through so much and he'd done so much. And at the end of the day, he's still able to put out, like, organic Trent Reznor style shit. And that's just amazing. And actually, after this album, I won't have anything written up for the next 8. So it'll all be free-formed. I hope it doesn't come out like shit, because if this recording ends up sounding decent enough, I'll just use this recording. But the next album is Lemon of Pink by The Books. These guys are insane. These guys make a style of music that we call plunderphonics. It's not, we didn't originate that term, but I'm not sure if they consider themselves plunderphonics. We just consider their style to be plunderphonics. And so essentially it's just heavily sample-based music. It's just samples, but not from necessarily other people's music, just of all forms of media. I mean, it could be a sample of a cassette tape found in an old telephone at a thrift store, or it could be samples of your neighbors warming up their musical instruments when you live in an apartment complex full of nothing but musicians. It's anything. These guys are crazy. I mean, like, they can make just a mundane conversation over a hour-long phone call into a track just by sampling all the bits of them laughing. Fuck. And then there are people like me who I open up FL Studio and I stare at all the different fucking VSTs and I can't figure out what I want to do, and so I quit. Like, these guys are insane. And all their music is, it's full of emotion, it's full of, like, experience and history. It's just full. It's just very full music. And so Lemon of Pink feels like the example of the most accessible Books album, but, like, don't take that to heart. Like, don't take that to face value, because you should definitely go, after listening to this garbage video I'm putting out, you should definitely go listen to the rest of the Books, or just some of them. Just throw on the Books on Spotify, spend 30 minutes listening to them. You're granted to hear something that you feel like you've heard before, because they've sampled fucking everything. They probably sample some spaghetti western movie that you watched when you were 5 years old with your dad while eating a fucking Salisbury steak TV dinner. Like, there's got to be something. But Other People's Problems by Breton. So I had a really good friend back in 8th grade and 9th grade show me this album. And I was blown away because, like, it was so grungy. Like, it was really grungy electronic music. Like, later on, a couple years later, I'd find out about, like, Arctic Monkeys and stuff. I'm not talking about, like, their AM album, which I'm not a fan of. But like, just the whole Brit rock scene, like with Reptilia from The Strokes, everyone fucking knows that song. Somehow Roman Rappick and his group found a way to make Brit rock a more electronic heavy scene, at least with Other People's Problems. In their later album, War Room Stories, it's much more electronic and much more, or I guess much less punky. But not on Other People's Problems. I mean, this album's great. It's got a little bit of electronic heavy stuff on it, but tracks like Oxides, tracks like Jostle, tracks like Wood and Plastic, like, just fucking knock it out the park with just amazing grungy electronic sounds. And then you'll have other tracks like Edward the Confessor or Governing Correctly, where they strip it down to the fucking brass bolts and nuts, and it's just electronic, but it's still got, like, movement to it. God, I'm not a music critic. I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Against All Logics 2012 through 2017. If you don't know jack about house, then you'll like this. Animals as Leaders, self-titled. Fucking A. So this is a band that my brother Edu showed me again back in, it would have been like 8th grade when we were still playing as the Slight Euphoric. This album is Tosin Abasi flexing all of his music theory knowledge while still managing to absolutely destroy the hopes and dreams of other metal musicians during 2012 when I think this came out. I remember listening to the track On Impulse so many times in a row while playing that stupid cafe game on Facebook that when my friend Ed was over, he lost his fucking cool and yelled at me because he was tired of listening to offbeat music and odd time signature off-key metal. And he was right. But actually, I think Ed might be a huge fan of Animals Leaders now. And I mean, who isn't? Like, it's Gent, and Gent is like fucking one of the most laughable subgenres of music, but it's still fucking great. Like, it's just give it a listen. I think the price of everything with the value of nothing is got to be on like my top 10 of favorite tracks list. Like, this album's just fucking great. Amnesia Scanner's Another Life. Yeah, this album's hard as fuck. I think these guys might actually be done. I think after their release of Tearless, they were kind of fed up with just the state of the world, which sucks, because if they're done making music with a statement to it, then who's going to speak for the people? But these fucking guys, I think they're from Berlin, at least Germany, unless I'm wrong about both those things. It wouldn't be the first time I was completely wrong. These guys are crazy. The music on this album will blow your pussy off. Sagarmatha by the Appleseed Cast. So I was actually undecided on whether or not to put this album or Low Level Owl on my number 3 spot. I think Low Level Owl still might manage to be my favorite Appleseed Cast album, but Sagarmatha has legs to it, man. The first track I'd ever heard by Appleseed Cast, it was a random YouTube recommendation. It had to have been back in like 2011, 2012. It's for Fishing the Sky, which is off their Mare Vitalis album. And I, again, was like, wow, music like this exists? That's fucking crazy. How do they do that shit? But then I listened to As the Little Things Go, and I was reminded that emo, like rock and emo music exists. And that's just what this is. It's just an emo album. But it's not. I think there's so much variation in sound on this thing. So it starts off with As the Little Things Go, and then it goes into A Bright Light, which was 2 just emo tracks. But then it goes into The Road West, and it gets more into like the alternative rock aspect of it. And then like with songs like Raise the Sails and South Call, you're just drawn into this like world of complete fucking madness when it comes to sound, because it's just constantly shifting between what genre it wants to be, and then it always lands back on emo alternative. But it's just fucking great, and it connects with me on a personal level. But it's more than just like a personal album for me. I think this album will probably be one of my favorite albums for the rest of my life. So I know it's not going anywhere. Hey, sorry for the change in voice quality. My previous recording, you'll notice that my voice is significantly more vocal fried because I decided to do 50 straight minutes of talking about fucking nothing, but I wanted to record this as well to assist with parts where not only was my voice fried, but my brain was fried and I couldn't think of shit to say. So starting from where I left off with albums that aren't going anywhere, Minus the Bears, Mi No Soloso. Minus the Bears, Mi No Soloso was an album released by Minus the Bear. It was released by them in 2005. It was probably one of their most critically acclaimed albums. It has their fucking hit Pachuca Sunrise on it, and everyone fucking knows that song, or at least have heard of that song. Album's great. The album is solid, just an all-around good album. My problem with Minus the Bear is that they had an opportunity to stop the band when they lost their drummer Aaron Tate back in 2013 when he left, due to differences in opinions, and they didn't. They kept going, and they hired in other drummers, usually their studio or tour drummers, to work on their albums. And I think their sound was lacking. It also started to go in more of a generalized radio-friendly sound of the alternative rock scene at the time, which was heavily influenced by synth drums and drum trackings as opposed to live drum sounds. And a lot of people that have made music will be laughing at me at this point because they know that most studio albums anyways just have drum trackings. Like, you just sample the drums and then you just do drum patterns. Like, you don't actually have live drums most of the time. And even probably
fairly enough to add for their earlier albums anyways, like Highly Refined Pirates and Planet of Ice, which is actually later than Mino Solo So, but who gives a shit. They probably didn't have live drums in those albums, but the difference was you could feel the difference of an Aaron Tate drum beat as opposed to on even Omni with still Aaron Tate back in 2010, when it was much more of a simpler drum beat to satisfy the synth-heavy alternative rock sound they were going for. That my problem that I addressed in the other recording that I'm going to briefly go over is that when a band loses a substantial member of the group, and now granted in my criticism is not even criticism, in regard for Brockhampton Saturation, I applauded them for continuing the band after losing Amir. I'm going to do the opposite with Minus the Bear, where I'm going to wish they hadn't continued after losing Aaron Tate. I would have wished that since they were already going in a different direction with their sound and they'd lost a key member from the band in the beginning, that they would have just started back up as a different band and they could, use credit from, we used to Minus the Bear, and they could even play their other tracks like I suggested Damon Albarn do for Gorillaz. But instead they kept trying to make music happen until after they released Voids, and I think it was 2017, that they kind of just hung it up. They were done. My problem is that in the other recording, I'd use the reference of when Sublime lost Bradley. When Sublime had Bradley, it wasn't Sublime with Bradley. It was Sublime, because Bradley was a key part of Sublime. But then when he passed away, the band took some time, and then they came back because, they wanted to keep playing their music, but then they became Sublime with Rome, and I would have rather they just started up as a new thing. I'm sure that this is a contested point, but also an agreed upon point, kind of as a 50-50 split with fans. I think that's also the problem, is that fans, again, we're just greedy little piggies, and we don't know how to, just be satisfied with what we have. And so when Minus the Bear lost Aaron Tate, I think they should have stopped, because they were no longer making music that was akin to their earlier days of bands like It When You Yell Yar or Highly Refined Pirates, or they make beer commercials like this. They were making a new style of music, and I think it was just a little bit too simple to be considered what Minus the Bear was. And granted, when they released Voids, and they'd said in some interview that it was going to be similar to Planet of Ice and Mino Soloso, I, even at first listen, was convinced. I was like, yes, this is the Minus the Bear that, I grew to love. And over time, I lost that feeling. I no longer felt the same love for the band, and eventually they hung it up. And so I'm debating whether or not if I use this recording in its entirety or if I just lay some stuff in, but they released, I think the EP is called Good Enough, which is fitting. They released that EP as their final piece of work as Minus the Bear. I've actually never listened to the newest EP. It's still wrapped in cellophane, and I probably won't listen to it for a while, because I can only listen to it once for the first time. And then the number one album on my list was Sharky's Fruit EP. I really don't have much to say about it, because I think that it's an album that's better enjoyed with no expectations. She is an extremely talented artist, Sharky, and I would love to see her blow up. She reminds me a lot of Erykah Badu, and someone in an interview equated her to a Stevie Nicks. Her album Fruit is great. Romanian Moth is an amazing song. Fruit's an amazing song. Two Armies is an amazing song. It's all good. It's all good. All of her work's good. All of her stuff on Bandcamp is definitely worth the price, if not more. She needs more attention. And normally I would say that Mino Soloso would be my number one album of all time, but I wanted to give more attention to an artist that deserved it. That's it. That's my top 100 list of songs, 100 albums. And I'm kind of making this video for myself, but I wanted to make something to celebrate me and the things I like and enjoy. And I also wanted to give myself a little bit of credit, because on the day I release this, it'll be my 100th day of sobriety. Finally kicked one of the worst habits of my life, and I don't really feel too much different. But I think I'm healthier now, and I'm happier now. I feel like I can better concentrate and be more positive with my outlook. That's it. Somehow I managed to talk to myself and my phone for an additional 10 minutes. That's impressive. Anyways, fucking later, skaters.